President Trump intends to keep the terrorist detention facility at Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, open for business. GITMO. Former President Obama spent 8 years trying and failing to close it down. National security correspondent Jennifer Griffin tells us from the Pentagon that means suspects could be sent to GITMO for the first time in 10 years.
During the election campaign, President Trump vowed to keep the Guantanamo Bay prison open.
President Trump is reportedly preparing to repopulate the notorious prison his predecessor spent 8 years trying to close. Many Republican lawmakers are now embracing the prison as a symbol of strength and toughness. Targeting bad dudes, like the U.S. leader previously promised, could wind up being almost anyone.
I want to make it clear today that my administration will focus on ending the absolutely horrific practice of human trafficking, and I am prepared to bring the full force and weight of our government to the federal and at the federal level and the other highest levels, whatever we can do in order to solve this horrific problem, getting worse, and it's happening in the United States, in addition to the rest of the world. Human trafficking is a dire problem, both domestically and internationally. Solving the human trafficking epidemic, which is what it is a priority for my administration. I'll direct the Department of Justice, the Department of Homeland Security, and other federal agencies that have a role in preventing human trafficking to take a hard look at the resources and personnel that they're currently devoting to this fight. Now, they are devoting a lot, but we're going to be devoting more. It's a very, very terrible problem. It's not talked about enough. People don't know enough about it. And we're going to talk about it, and we're going to bring it out into the open, and hopefully we're going to do a great deal to help prevent some of the horrific, really horrific crimes that are taking place. We are going to do everything in our power to make sure that traffickers are brought to a swift and firm justice. And I've heard statistics where trafficking in the world is more now than it ever has been, ever in the history of the world. So there's an honor of your daughter.
So on December 21st, the president issued an executive order, and the title of the order is Blocking the Property and Persons Involved in Serious Human Rights Abuse or Corruption. The executive order does declare a national emergency concerning human rights abuse and corruption. And what does it mean when the president declares a national emergency? What it really means is it gives the president and Congress the ability to devote extra resources to combating the situation that has been declared a national emergency. Congress can appropriate more funding. They can put more law enforcement resources to work on that problem. So the national emergency thing really allows government to devote more resources to solving the problem. What it really does is it freezes the assets and property of people who have been found to be involved in human rights abuse, human trafficking, and corruption.
After the Obama administration's failed attempt to shutter the detention facility, President Trump reversing course, signing an executive order to keep operations in Cuba going. In a transition, we're finding the temporary structures here are moving to be more permanent fixtures.
That's about 222 personnel.
The military is spending millions to make Guantanamo more permanent.
The facilities here need to be able to support that long-term mission.
$115 million have been approved to replace deteriorating barracks. The Pentagon has also requested an additional $69 million to replace Camp 7, which holds high-value detainees.
Trump has said he would reintroduce a policy of torture which Guantanamo detainees endured between 2002 and 2006.
They said, what do you think about waterboarding? I said, I like it a lot, and I don't think it's tough enough.
Military leadership here won't talk about what they would do if Trump's calls to torture become orders.
If you received an order from the new administration to carry out these, techniques, for example, waterboarding, would you honor that order?
That's speculative. I am confident that there will be no torture here, and whatever orders we receive, by the time they come to me, I'm confident those will be legal orders that I will be ready to carry out.
The never-ending terrorism trials on the island may end up being just a preview of Trump's plan. He said he was open to prosecuting Americans accused of terrorism before the military tribunals at GITMO.
Would you allow U.S. interrogators to waterboard terrorist prisoners in order to extract information?
Absolutely. Of course it's bad, but it's not chopping off heads, folks, okay, that I can tell you. I said, I'd prove it immediately, but I'd make it also much worse. They said, what do you mean? I said, I'd do much worse. I said, they're chopping off our heads in the Middle East. They want to kill us. They want to kill us. They want to kill our country. They want to knock out our cities. And don't tell me it doesn't work. Torture works, okay, folks? Torture, have these guys. Torture doesn't work. Believe me, it works, okay? And waterboarding is your minor form. Some people say it's not actually torture. Let's assume it is. But they asked me the question, what do you think of waterboarding? Absolutely fine. But we should go much stronger than waterboarding. That's the way I feel. They're chopping off heads. Believe me, we should go much stronger because our country's in trouble. We're in danger. We have people that want to do really bad things. Remember the power of weaponry. This isn't 100 years ago where we fight hand-to-hand combat. This is weapons that are so destructive that the world could end.
What do we've had? 59 new federal district court judges appointed under Trump, 23 appeals court judges, now 2 Supreme Court judges. I did some research. In the history of Supreme Court nomination hearings, military tribunals have never been brought up. There was a 5-minute discussion, as you outlined, between Lindsey Graham and Brett Kavanaugh about the constitutionality of military tribunals. Yes, they've been used in our country's history. Are they constitutional? Yes. Could they be used again? Yes.
So the bottom line is, I want every American citizen to know you have constitutional rights, but you do not have a constitutional right to collaborate with the enemy. There's a body of law well developed long before 9/11.
We have breaking news. In one of our previous reports, we told you that military tribunals for deep state traitors who are trying to overthrow the Trump administration will begin in January of 2019. That Guantanamo Bay and several other strategic locations around the country have been prepared for these trials, which will begin in the new year. These trials will be secretive. They will not be open to the public. The mainstream media will not be allowed to cover them. And as a result, you will not hear much about these trials when they begin. Only select alternative media have been given access to these trials. We are one of those alternative media sources that will be providing you with complete coverage of the military tribunals.
It's like 24 hours since John McCain was put to death.